I think we're live. Hey there, how is it going? Lee Hayward with another episode of the Ask Lee Friday Q&A. So I want to welcome you on board. Glad to have you joining in for another conversation, another fitness and nutrition Q&A here, where I'm going to be hanging out answering your questions about fitness and nutrition. So if there is anything that you would like to discuss related to building muscle, losing fat, optimizing your nutrition, your workouts, any specific challenges you're having when it comes to building muscle and losing fat, feel free to type those questions and topics of discussion into our chat window, and I'll do the best that I can to help you out over the course of our video chat today. And I want to just make sure this is coming through loud and clear. We are streaming simultaneously from the Total Fitness Bodybuilding YouTube channel, as well as the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook page. And I'm also streaming it from my own personal Facebook profile as well. So regardless of where you're tuning in from, whether that is YouTube or Facebook, you'll be able to participate live on our Q&A here. And just want to make sure that it is coming through loud and clear. Hopefully it is. Hopefully you can hear me and see me on your end. Just want to do our little audio video check before we actually get into some Q&A here today, before we get into the content. So we got Lee joining in. I got to hand it to Lee Donegan. He's always, I think, you got better timing than I do. You're always the first one to chime in saying it is coming through loud and clear. Appreciate that, my friend. And kudos to you on your strongman competition. I was watching some clips over that you post on social media. Lee competes in strongman competitions and did quite well. All right. I mean, feel free to share how it went for you. They're chiming into the chat window there. I know you're a regular to our chat, been tuning in for years, and it's been awesome to follow along through progress. We've got Dan joining in, saying it's coming through loud and clear. Appreciate it. Glad to have you joining in, Dan, and another regular, Robert's joining in as well. Welcome, folks. Glad to have you joining in. Awesome. So before we get into today's Q&A, so I mean, as people are popping onto the live stream and typing in their questions and topics of discussion that they want to have covered here, there's a few things that I would like to discuss and just give you a heads up on. One, of course, is we're running a Lose Your Gut Challenge Summer Shred. And those of you who have been following along for a while, you've probably heard of this before. Maybe you've even done a Lose Your Gut Challenge before. Who knows? But this is something that I like to do every summer as a way to give you a good kick in the pants to get back on track with your fitness and nutrition. And what the Lose Your Gut Challenge is, it's a free 5-day virtual coaching program where we're going to cover the fundamentals and lay out a solid step-by-step action plan that you can follow to optimize your nutrition, to incorporate better habits, to really fine-tune things and simplify the process so that you can get on the right track to losing your gut, and more importantly, how you can sustain it while enjoying the process, right? Because that's one of the things that really bugs me in the fitness and nutrition space is there's so much contradictory opinions and hype and BS, and some of the information out there is good. Don't get me wrong. There's some really good information out there, but a lot of it is, it's not sustainable, right? And we actually did a podcast about this, the last episode of the Total Fitness Bodybuilding podcast. We went into a whole discussion about sustainable fitness and nutrition for long-term results. And that's what we cover within the Lose Your Gut Challenge, is we literally take you through a virtual 5-day intensive coaching program that's going to help you to lay that foundation so that you can lose your gut and enjoy the process and sustain it as a lifestyle. Because one of the things, again, as I mentioned, that bugs me is a lot of times people will say, okay, they finally hit their threshold. Like, oh, okay, I'm a fat slob. I got to do something about this. I don't like the reflection that's looking back at me in the mirror. I got to make a change. They hit their threshold, if you will. And then they say, okay, I'm going on some crazy hardcore cutting diet, right? I'm going to go on keto, or I'm going to go carnivore, or I'm going to, cut out my carbs, or maybe they go the other extreme. I'm going to go vegan and I'm going to cut out all animal protein, or I'm going to go eat one meal a day and have this crazy intermittent fasting program, or I'm just going to starve myself and keep my calories under 1,000 a day. Some extreme, drastic approach. And that's usually the way it is. It's like people do nothing. And then it's like, okay, now I got to dive headfirst into the deep end, sink or swim. So I'm going to try and starve myself on 1,000 calories a day and hopefully lose the weight as fast as possible. And sure, if you go to any extreme calorie restriction, whether it is one meal a day, whether it is, eliminating carbs or eliminating food groups or just creating some crazy extreme calorie restriction, sure, you're going to lose weight, right? I mean, it is calories in, calories out at the end of the day. But how do you feel when you go to the extremes? Like if you go from eating whatever you want to just eating one meal a day, or you go from eating whatever you want to now you're not eating any carbohydrates, right? Like, how do you feel? You feel hungry, you feel depleted, you feel deprived, and then you're getting into willpower. And if you're a very tough, strong-willed person and you can suffer it out, maybe you can drop weight. Like maybe, you suffer it out on some extreme cutting diet and lose 30 pounds over the next 3 or 4 months, right? Which would be fantastic. But eventually what happens is most people hit their threshold of how much suffering and torture they can take before they say, the juice ain't worth the squeeze. It's not worth it anymore. And they go back to their old eating habits. And as soon as you go back to your old eating habits, then guess what's going to happen? You're going to rebound and gain the weight back again. So like, who cares if you starve yourself and lose 30 pounds in the next 3 months, if you rebound and put 40 pounds back on over the next year? Like, that's what happens with most mainstream diets. And if you've ever followed a diet before, you've probably actually done that, right? Lost a bunch of weight initially, and then 6 months or a year later, you got it all back on and maybe a few pounds more. And then you're fatter than when you started. And then you may stay stuck in that rut until you finally muster up enough motivation to start another diet. And the whole thing starts over and over and over again, right? Like, I actually, just let me see if I can show you this. I just want to share my screen and kind of show you something here. Where's it to? Right here. Yeah, I actually have it. Shit, it's the wrong. I wanted to share an image there, and it's the one that I wanted to share. I'm not seeing it. Okay, here it is. Just give me a second, guys. I want to share my screen. Takes a minute to do this. My brain goes faster than my fingers can share. All right, can you see that on your end? Yeah, it should be coming through, right? So this is the typical crash diet cycle. And this could apply to any type of extreme diet, whether it is keto or carnivore or intermittent fasting or whatever, just some drastically cutting your calories. Right? You start the diet, you create that massive calorie deficit, and then eventually you're going to feel the restriction. Usually within the first week, you'll probably feel that restriction, and then the deprivation, and then the cravings are going to start to build. And then before you know it, you're eventually going to give in. It's only a matter of time. Like if you're a really strong-willed person, you might be able to suffer it out for several weeks or maybe even several months. But eventually, sooner or later, those cravings are going to build to the point where you give in. And in a moment of weakness, maybe you're out to a social event or a family dinner, or you're under a lot of stress at work, or something happens, and the next thing you know, like, oh, you cave, right? You give in. You make that late night drive-through window run, or you order something that you shouldn't, right? The order the pizza, you order the Uber Eats or the Skip the Dishes or the DoorDash or whatever it is, or you raid the convenience store shelves and getting chips and candy bars and soda pops and whatever. You give in, right? You blow the diet. And then what happens when you give in? You're going to feel guilty, right? You're going to like, oh shit, I knew I couldn't do this, right? I blew the diet again. And the weight starts to rebound. And then you could stay stuck in that rut, rebounding, gaining the weight back until you eventually muster up enough willpower to start another diet. And it just keeps going in this crash diet cycle. So within the Lose Your Gut Challenge, we're going to show you how to break out of this and create sustainable lifestyle habits and sustainable strategies that will allow you to enjoy the process of losing fat so you don't feel like you're on a diet, right? That's the key here, is we want to create a lifestyle change and not just going on another crazy crash diet. And that's what we're going to cover within the free 5-day Lose Your Gut Challenge. So if you want to register for that, I actually have links to it down in the description below this video. So just pop open the description and you can check that out. And you can also head on over to my website at leehayward.com. And it's over there. You can check it out. I have a post that explains the whole free 5-day Lose Your Gut Challenge summer shred. Right, so it's right there. And there's all the details, where you can check that out. Let me just I want to just share that with you as well, so you can go check that out on your own after this video chat is over. All right, I'm going to bring that up. Right here, the Lose Your Gut Challenge Summer Shred, right there. All right, so just head over to leehayward.com, and that's where you can check this out. And it goes into detail explaining what it is, how it came about, because this is something that I developed out of my own desperation. You know, when I got in my approaching the big 4-0, became a father, you know, I developed the dad bod, right? I got to the point where I wasn't happy with the reflection looking back at me in the mirror. And I decided, you know what, I got to make a change. So this was the strategy that I used, what I'm going to be teaching you within the free 5-day Lose Your Gut Challenge. And we're going to be breaking everything down step by step. And again, you can see some of the results that guys have gotten from going through this program, right? Some of my top coaching students. And real guys achieving real world results. And that's the whole purpose of this. And hopefully you'll be one of our next success stories, right? And if you even want to read more reviews about it, you can also head over to the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook page, open up the reviews tab. There's literally over 200 reviews of people who've gone through the Lose Your Gut Challenge, right? So you can check it out, real world results of people who've already done this, right? And again, it's totally free. All you have to do is commit yourself for 5 days, right? 5 days to start making yourself on the right track to becoming a new version of you, right? The 5-day Lose Your Gut Challenge Summer Shred. So open up the description below, check that out. All right, we got a bunch more people popping onto our live chat here, so let's just jump into it. Who else we got there? We have Paul joining us. He says, I am the game, and I am that damn good. All right. Lee, in your prime, do you think you could have beaten Triple H in arm wrestling? Jesus Christ. We're getting into these questions, of course. Move on. What else we got there? Robert's got a proper question. When doing your full body workout, do you add deadlifting to it? If so, do you do it first or last? Yeah, okay. I want to discuss the whole topic of full body workouts because there's a lot of confusion around that. I mean, you think it would be simple, but a lot of people have mental hang-ups when it comes to full body, and they're like, oh, full body, that can't work. Oh, you'll never build muscle doing full body. You got to do a bro split, right? You got to have a chest day, back day, leg day, arm day. No, like you can do full body workouts, and there's a lot of benefits to full body workouts. The big one, and the reason why I like doing full body workouts, is because you don't have to live in the gym. Like if you're hitting all your major muscle groups when you work out, and let's just say you're really busy and you can only get to the gym 2 or 3 times a week. Well, at least you're still hitting all your major muscle groups 2 or 3 times over the course of the week. I mean, heck, even if you only got to the gym once a week, you could still hit all your major muscle groups once a week. So, I mean, you can make steady progress with total body workouts. Whereas if you're doing a body part split, a chest day, back day, leg day, shoulder day, arm day, etc., if you only get to the gym 2 or 3 times a week, it might take you 2 weeks before you hit all your major muscle groups, right? So you're leaving a lot of gaps. Now, if someone has all the time in the world and they're in the gym 6 days a week, yeah, you could probably make a bro split work. I mean, back in my early days, you know, my late teens, early 20s, especially when I was competing in bodybuilding, I mean, I did the bro splits and I was in the gym 6 days a week and I made it work, right? So if you have the time for a bro split or a body part split, whatever you want to call it, you can make that work. But for people who have life outside the gym, you know, you have a career and a family and responsibilities, and you don't want to spend 6 days a week in the gym, you can do total body workouts and still get good results, right? So that's the reason why I like to do total body workouts. But the thing with total body workouts is you have the flexibility to change them. Like it doesn't have to be the exact same workout every single time. And you can change the exercises. You can change the order that you do the exercises. You know, like when I do a total body workout, some days I might have a specific thing that I want to prioritize. And for example, like if it's deadlifts, then I might do that early in the workout. So I'll do my warm up and mobility exercises and then say, well, okay, I'm going to do deadlifts. I'm going to push that exercise hard and then finish off with an exercise for all the other major muscle groups, and when I'm looking at a total body workout, it might be 6 to 8 exercises total over the course of that workout. So it doesn't mean you have to train every exercise and every single angle in a single session. Like, you don't have to go in there and spend like 3 or 4 hours doing a total body workout. Like, you can pick maybe 6 to 8 exercises and you just work those exercises hard. And then the next time you go, you can choose other exercises that you want to focus on. Or if you want to prioritize something like the deadlifts, maybe, for the next several weeks or next couple months, that's going to be a key exercise, and you're going to prioritize that one and really hammer that as a major emphasis in the workouts for the next several weeks. And then once you kind of plateau with that and peak out, then maybe you switch it around and prioritize another exercise. So there's a lot of flexibility within this, but I do incorporate deadlifts in total body workouts, and how often and how I incorporate it really depends on where I'm at in that phase. Right. But it's certainly, you can do any exercise within a total body workout, right? It's not like you have rules and regulations like, oh, I'm only allowed to do, XYZ exercises because I'm training total body. No, you can still train all your major exercises, right? But yeah, if you want some help with that, like, feel free to reach out to me. We could hop on like a strategy session call, discuss your goals, your situation, see if we can map out a training plan that fits your goals at this stage of the game and take it from there. But certainly incorporate deadlifts. It's one of the best exercises. Who else we got there? We have AJ joining in. Says, lately I've noticed I'm getting a bit fluffier and losing a bit of muscle definition and mass. I don't train as much and I don't eat as much protein. What exercises would you recommend to keep? Must be a second part. Keep my gains, definition, and mass in general. I've also put aside barbell deadlifts. I think I should bring it back because of the overall body strength it contributes to. What I would recommend, AJ, honestly, the simple answer that would kind of cover all this: sign up for the Lose Your Gut Challenge. It's going down next weekend. We're kicking it off. So it's going to start on July 5th, right? Next Saturday is when it kicks off. Register for the Lose Your Gut Challenge, because this is what it's all about. It's about laying the foundation of optimizing your training, optimizing your nutrition, filling in those gaps so that you're nourishing the body on the cellular level, building your metabolism, and laying that foundation so that you can build muscle, lose fat, and get back in shape, and enjoying the process, which is the key. Because I don't care how good a program works, if you don't enjoy it and you can't stick to it over the long term, then the results are only temporary. Right? It has to be something that you can enjoy and sustain as a lifestyle. And that's why, as I mentioned earlier in the previous question, like the total body workouts, that's something I can sustain. I can sustain 2 to 3 workouts in the gym a week. That's easy to fit within my schedule. There's a lot of flexibility there, and it's sustainable. And it's something that I've been doing literally for years. And that's what you got to think about. Like, I don't care how disciplined you can be if you're like, oh, I'm going to really go hardcore for the next 30 days. Well, big deal. Okay, you get a little spurt of growth over the next 30 days, and then if you take, you can't stick with it, and then you end up falling off the rails, and then you're out of the gym for several weeks or several months or a year or more. That doesn't compound. Like, consistency compounds. That's what you need to look at. How can you be consistently good versus occasionally great? Right? And that's what we're going to be covering within the Lose Your Gut Challenge. And that's the single best answer I can give you. If you wanted to lose that fluff and regain that muscle and get your shit together, join us for the Lose Your Gut Challenge. All right, we'll help you to lay out an action plan. Who else we got there? We got Tim joining in. Hey, Lee, what's up, brother? Down to 205 now. 193 should equate to 10% body fat. Awesome. Congrats on the progress. I know Tim's been on a weight loss journey over the last year and lost a significant amount of weight. Feel free to chime in into the comments there and let us know like how much total. But I believe you mentioned it over on the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook group, but it was a lot. I can't remember the exact numbers off the top of my head here now, but I know like you've lost a lot of weight over the past year. It just goes to show the consistency and the hard work is compounding and starting to pay off. So Before you know it, man, you're going to be cracking into the sub 200. Like once you step on the scale and see a number 1 as the first digit on the scale, like that's a huge milestone, and you're very close to knocking on that door now. Based on the progress you're going, I mean, I could see that literally happening within the next month, right? You're gonna one of these mornings, you're gonna step on the scale, and there's gonna be a big number 1 looking back at you as the first digit. And when that happens, let us know. Share it to the group. Let us know when that happens so we can celebrate with you. All right, who else we got joining in? We have Karan joining in. It says, if I'm doing full body workouts twice a week, is it bad if they're on Monday and Wednesday? That leaves a 4-day gap until the next one, but it fits my work-life schedule best. Is that recovery gap too long or okay for progress? Gotcha. You know what? You answered your own question there. And this is the question that's there. This is what's most important. That very last line, it fits my work-life schedule best. If that's what fits your schedule best, that's what you can do consistently. That's what you can stick with. I don't care about the other rules. That trumps all right there. It's what fits your schedule. And I'll give you some examples to kind of really, drive this home. I know one of my coaching students that I was working with made incredible progress, but he had a weird schedule. He works as a truck driver, and he does 4 12-hour shifts, and then he has 4 days off, and then another 4. So 4 days on, 4 days off, 4 days on, 4 days off, and they're 12-hour shifts. So when you factor in, sleep, eat, commute back and forth to work and all that kind of stuff, and then just there wasn't really much time on those 12-hour shifts to go to the gym in addition to that. So the way he structured his workouts is those 4 work days when he was on the road trucking, he didn't work out, right? I mean, he kept his nutrition in line, but he didn't work out. On those 4 rest days, that's when he did his workouts. So it was like, hit the gym during those 4 days. We broke up his workouts over the course of 4 days, and then he had a 4-day rest gap. 4 days on, 4 days off, 4 days on, 4 days off. Was it optimal? No. Did it work? Yup. Right. I mean, you got to make it work with your life situation, right? I mean, we don't all have the luxury of having the perfect sleep schedule, the perfect work schedule, the perfect whatever schedule. Like, you got to deal with what hand is dealt to you. So make it work for your schedule. I mean, ideally, if you're only going to train twice a week, I would like to space that out a bit further, probably like a Monday, Thursday, or something along those lines, to have a more balanced gap. But over the long term, it's really not going to make any difference, right? If you're training Monday and Wednesday and the rest of the time, like, you'll be well rested by the time next Monday rolls around, right? And you'll still have a day of rest between those 2 workouts, right? So that's fine, right? There's nothing wrong with that. And again, if it fits your schedule, then do it. In fact, one of the coaching students that I'm training in person now at the gym, that's what we're doing right now, right? Just due to our schedules and everything else, we had to align it. We're literally doing Mondays and Wednesdays, and that's fine. You can make that work, right? It's what you can do consistently, right? That's what you got to ask yourself. What fits you in your schedule? What are you going to be able to do on a regular basis, not hit or miss or sacrificing in other areas? All right. Lee's saying about his competition that I mentioned earlier. He said he did a strongman competition, said the comp went really well. I couldn't have imagined finishing in second place. Your advice on what to eat on the day was perfect. Plenty of carbs and sugar sweets kept my energy levels high. Awesome. Good for you. And we were discussing that. I believe it was last week's video chat, or it was either last week or the week before. I can't remember exactly, but we were discussing eating for competition and how you eat on the day of an athletic event or competition is totally different than what you would eat on a normal training day, which would be totally different than what you would eat on a rest day. Like, I'm a big advocate of eating to meet your energy output. So on those days when you want maximum performance, you got to fuel the machine. Like, trying to compete or train on low carbs, low calories, low energy, you're not going to perform your best. Now, it might work from a fat loss point of view. And if your main goal is fat loss, like prime example, let's say a competitive bodybuilder just wants to get shredded for competition, they got to make that sacrifice of being in a calorie deficit, like not optimally nourished from an energy and muscular conditioning and output point of view, but they're nourishing for fat loss because they're tapping into burning up that stored body fat for energy. But their strength and their performance, their work capacity is going to suffer as a result. But if you're in doing a strongman competition, or if you're running a marathon or a triathlon or bicycle race or powerlifting, weightlifting, CrossFit, high rocks, Spartan race, these type of events, they do not go in there in a carb depleted state or thinking, hey, I'm going to do it following keto, or I'm going to try and deplete myself. No, you need to nourish yourself. And the thing about that as well is you need to practice your nutrition strategies in training. Like whatever you're going to do in competition, you want to practice it in training to make sure that it works well for you, right? So making sure that you can tolerate the carbs and the food choices and everything else. One thing that's a big mistake is going into a competition, trying some new nutrition strategy without having prior testing it. I mean, it may cause stomach upset, gastrointestinal distress, might have you run into the bushes to take a crap. You know what I mean? Like you want to test it out in advance. And, I'll just share some stuff because actually this Sunday in 2 days time, I'm going to be doing a bicycle race. So my nutrition strategies, I mean, I haven't planned out what I do there, but one thing, obviously I'm going to be having like wake up early, going to have a good high carbohydrate breakfast. And when I choose carbohydrates for competition day, it's low fiber carbohydrates. Like I don't want fibrous vegetables and things like high fiber cereals or anything along those lines. Like I don't want fibrous carbohydrates. I want starchy carbohydrates. I want some simple carbohydrates. I want food that's easy to digest, that's low in fiber, that's going to be utilized for maximum energy output, but something that's not going to cause me to be bloated or cause me to have to go, take a dump later on. Like I don't want to be mid-race feeling like, oh, I got to take a number 2 mid-race because of all that high fiber food, right? I don't want that in my system the day of the race. Now, afterwards, and like in normal days, sure, I want my high fiber vegetables and things like that, to keep me regular, but you don't want that during competition day. And I've trained that, during my training rides and stuff like that to know what my gut tolerates. Another strategy I use too is I mix up carbohydrate powder in my water bottles. So like I always take a couple bottles on my bike and I'll mix up carbohydrate powder with electrolytes and amino acids. And I'm sipping that throughout the ride as well to keep the glycogen and the blood sugar topped up, and also to replenish the electrolytes that you lose through sweat. So like these are all things that you need to practice in training so that you know that it's going to be able to carry over into competition, and then you'll be able to perform your best. But this is kind of like where modern training has really taken off in recent years, is the idea of sports nutrition for competition. And in the past, like a lot of people used to try and tough it out old school, and try to like train on an empty stomach, or, thinking that the less food and the less liquid I drink, the tougher I am, or something like that. And now we're realizing you need to nourish yourself. And a common thing that I recommend, especially for athletes who are doing, especially endurance sports, like, I'm going to be doing a bicycle race now on Sunday, is you want to eat before you're hungry and drink before you're thirsty, and keep that going throughout the entire event, especially for long duration events. I mean, if it's something short, like if someone's running a 5K race or something really short, you don't need to really worry about hydration and nutrition too much during the race itself. But if you're doing a prolonged event that's going to be taking 2+ hours, you definitely need to focus on the intra training or the intra race nutrition, to keep yourself hydrated and to keep your blood sugar topped up so that you can perform strong into the final half of that event. Right. And this is where you very often see people crack, right? They go out strong at the start. And then if they're not nourishing themselves and hydrating and replenishing the electrolytes throughout the event, then in the second half, they fade. Whereas if you keep that nutrition strong early on, then you'll be able to maintain your strength throughout the whole event and keep going and finish strong. And that's ultimately what matters the most. It's not who can sprint out of the gate the fastest. It's who's got the power when it counts at the end. All right, but again, thanks for sharing that, Lee. Much of, proud of you, buddy. I mean, that's awesome. And again, keep me posted with how things go with your future competitions. Who else is there? Let's see. We got David joining in. Glad to have you joining in the chat. David says, I'm still in it. Had a great push day today. Awesome. And David is a member over on the Muscle After 40 Blueprint VIP program. Went through the whole, he went through the Lose Your Gut Challenge, came on board with the Muscle After 40 program and made an amazing transformation, right? Yeah, I mean, it's exciting to see. I know, like, you made some really good lean gains. That's one thing. And I don't know. I just want to see if I can find something here. Not sure if I got it here or not. Yes, I do, by golly. Let's just see. If it's okay, David. Well, I know I'm not speaking to you, but I'm gonna do it anyway because it's I'm impressed by this and I want to share it. Just check this out. This is David's Muscle After 40 transformation. I mean, he really filled out his frame with some lean mass and made some solid muscular gains all around. And I got to say, that is freaking impressive, right? I mean, this is what excites me the most, when I can see guys make that kind of transformation, right? And again, kudos to you for the hard work and you've made. I mean, that's a true body recomposition there, like filled out your frame with lean mass and still stayed quite lean in the process. But again, glad to have you joining into the video chat. Who else we got there? Now I'm going to have a sip of water. All right. Have you tried using AI to rank if food ingredients are healthy or not? It's been a game changer for me. I've used AI for a lot of things, but I can't say I've used it to rank foods. Not exactly sure what you mean by ranking foods, but how I rank foods, and it's not AI, it's Lee I guess, or whatever. Natural unprocessed foods, that's first thing. Single ingredient foods that don't need a nutrition label, those tend to be of the healthier variety, especially for the bulk of your diet. As you know, fruits, vegetables, meats, chicken, fish, eggs, oats, rice, those type of foods. Again, single ingredient foods that don't need nutrition labels, right? Real foods that are the way Mother Nature made them, and not things that are packaged and processed and don't look anything like the way they came out of the ground or whatever, or the way they were in their natural state. So natural unprocessed foods is how I rank it number one. And then focusing on meeting those nutritional profile needs in terms of your macros, and making sure you're getting protein, making sure that you're getting adequate carbohydrates to fuel your training, making sure that you're getting those healthy fats in there, and the vegetables and the phytonutrients and all that stuff. I mean, that's how I structure my eating, but I'm sure you could get AI or Chat GPT to help you out with that as well. But right, but personally, no, I have not done that myself. Eagle Eye John says, do you think low calorie alcohol free wine okay to lose weight? If it's alcohol free, i.e. like these zero non-alcoholic beer, non-alcoholic wines, they're better choices. All right. Because that's a good question, right? And I want to unpack this. When it comes to alcohol, it's not just the calories, right? A lot of people think, as long as I keep calories in check, calories in, calories out, I'll lose weight. And while that is true, there's other issues going on behind the scenes with alcohol consumption. First off, it's a toxin. Like when you drink, especially when you drink in excess, what do they say happens? You get intoxicated. So it is a toxin. So it's certainly not nourishing your body. It's toxifying your body. So you got to factor that in there. Another thing, alcohol is a unique substance in that it takes priority. When there's alcohol in your system, that takes priority over everything else. Like your liver, your body has to metabolize that alcohol first. So the food you eat while you're drinking alcohol is not getting metabolized normally. The alcohol has to get metabolized first down to 0 blood alcohol before you'll start breaking down and digesting the food you eat normally. So it literally can put the brakes on fat burning, right? When you're drinking alcohol, you're not burning body fat. Your body's breaking down that alcohol first. That's priority number one. Once that alcohol is metabolized, then it'll start to digest the food you eat and break down body fat and do all the stuff that it's supposed to do normally. But the alcohol kind of like just throws a wrench into the whole metabolic system. And another big drawback when it comes to alcohol is when you drink and you get intoxicated, it lowers your inhibitions and you tend to make poor choices, including poor food choices. So prime example, like if you ever went out and had a few beers or drinks with your buddies, like, do you come home after a night of drinking and say, I'm really craving a nice fresh garden salad right about now? No, it's usually like I'm craving burgers or fries or pizza or some greasy pub grub. You very rarely make good nutrition choices when you're half in the bag, right? So it lowers the inhibitions, lowers the guardrails come off, and you tend to make poor food choices. So poor food choices with suppressed fat burning because the alcohol's in your system. I mean, is it any wonder why people get the quote unquote beer belly? And that just doesn't apply to beer. It applies to any type of alcohol, whether that's hard liquor, wine, beer, whatever, right? So that's the problem with alcohol. Now, in your situation here, you're mentioning the alcohol-free or the non-alcoholic variations. They are better because you're not getting the alcohol, but a lot of times you are still getting calories. So like in a non-alcoholic beer, for example, even though there's no alcohol, there's still calories in it. So you just got to factor that into your totals. I'm not saying that it's bad or you can't enjoy it from time to time, but you got to factor it in. When it comes to the wines, they tend to be high in sugar, right? It's basically a glorified juice. Like that's what it is. It's right. So you're getting a lot of sugar, right? With the non-alcoholic wines. So again, just factor that in. But if it's something you enjoy and like you want to celebrate a birthday or a special occasion with a glass of non-alcoholic drink, that's certainly better than a regular alcoholic drink. Just use common sense and keep it in moderation. It's not a free-for-all. Like it doesn't mean like you can just slam back a case of non-alcoholic beer or a bottle of non-alcoholic wine and say, oh, well, it's non-alcoholic, so it doesn't count. There's still calories there. I mean, that's still going to add up at the end of the day, but it's a better choice. So it's a step forward, right? I mean, I will occasionally have a non-alcoholic beer, right? I mean, I don't have it very often, but if we are like going out to a social event or whatever, I'll order a non-alcoholic beer, get it poured up into a frosty mug. I mean, you could be out with friends or at a social event and nobody's even going to know the difference. As far as everyone's concerned, I'm sipping on a cold beer the same as everybody else, and it's all good. But at the end of the day, right, it's a better beer choice, right? Because I'm not getting those alcoholic drawbacks. Plus, I'm not going to have to worry about not being able to drive home and all the other drawbacks that comes with alcohol consumption. Yeah. So again, it is better, but it's not a free-for-all. Put it that way. What else we got there? What's the best fat loss diet to get visible abs? Military or carnivore? I don't even know what the military. Is there a military diet? If so, that's new to me. But I'm going to tell you the best answer I can give you, and I already addressed it earlier on in the video chat. Sign up for the free 5-day Lose Your Gut Challenge. Again, the link to that is down in the description below. Right, I mentioned it earlier on in the video chat. That's where we're going to break down fat loss dieting in detail. Again, it's an intensive 5-day virtual coaching program where we're going to break this down day by day and outline the quote unquote best diet, not only to get visible abdominals, but to sustain them while enjoying the process. Right. And just a heads up, I'm not a fan of the carnivore diet. I don't think that's sustainable. And the reason I'm going to say that, how many people listening to this right now can see themselves going the rest of their life without eating another carbohydrate? Probably not many, right? I certainly couldn't. I mean, carbs are your high octane fuel source. As I mentioned before, we were talking about sports performance and training and optimizing your strength and all that. Carbs are your high octane fuel source. Like trying to run on zero carbohydrates, sure, it may work in the short term from a fat loss point of view, but your energy goes down the toilet. It tanks. And that's why you'll never see high performing athletes follow zero carb diets. Like nobody in like you're not going to see like NHL hockey players running on zero carbs, or you're not going to see NFL football players or marathon runners or Ironman competitors or powerlifters, or you're not going to see these high performing athletes running on zero carbs, right? The only time a zero carb diet is beneficial is for people who try to quickly drop weight and feel like shit in the process, basically. I mean, it's not a sustainable approach, right? But if you want to perform your best, carbohydrates are the key. And to kind of, I just want to share this as well. I know I shared some pictures earlier, but I just want to share this one. Like one of my coaching students, Mike Brown, we actually did a podcast discussing his journey with keto and carnivore and all that stuff, and intermittent fasting and all these extreme cutting diets. And if you, I'll probably link to it there. I'll get a link to it and share the podcast. I would recommend listening to that because you really get to hear the inside scoop on it. But I'm just going to give you a summary of that right here. So this is, I'll show that there. Mike Brown, one of my coaching students I'm working with now. He reached out to me in 2021. Right. And I want to just back this up so you can see the pictures here on the screen. In 2020, that's when he started losing weight on his own. So he went on a carnivore and intermittent fasting diet, lost a lot of weight. So from 2020 to 2021, you can see, I mean, he lost a lot of weight, but he wasn't happy with the results because he was very thin. He was weak. Like he wasn't building muscle. In fact, when he did his DEXA scans and tracked it, like he lost fat and he lost lean muscle as well. So he was a smaller version, skinnier version of his old self. That's when he came to me for help. So from 2021 to 2022, that was our first year going through the Muscle After 40 program. The first thing we did was said, we got to get on a well-balanced diet. We got to put carbohydrates back into your diet. We got to start eating more frequently. We got to make sure that you're nourishing the body on the cellular level. Like all the stuff that we're going to be covering within the Lose Your Gut Challenge, that's what we implemented from 2021 to 2022, that year. Then we stepped it up a notch. We started going more, like Mike said, hey, you know, he wanted to do a bodybuilding show. And I said, okay, well, let's start gearing this more towards bodybuilding dieting. So we actually bumped up his meals to 5 meals a day. So that was the big change from 22 to 23, increased the meals frequency to 5 meals a day. And then from 23 to 24, did the same thing, just fine tuning it, dialing it in even more. But the key thing is he's eating carbohydrates from 22, 23, 24, where he looks his best and he's getting bigger, leaner, and more muscular. He was eating carbohydrates, right, with all his meals there. The only time in the evening meals when he really wanted to prioritize fat loss, we probably taper the carbs in the evening meals. But for the first 4 meals of the day, he was eating carbohydrates, right? So like eating a well-balanced diet, protein, carbs, healthy fats, nourishing the body on the cellular level, not creating this crazy calorie deficit. In fact, in the 2024 picture there, I believe he was eating somewhere in the vicinity of, it was like 2,600 calories while losing body fat and eating a well-balanced diet. And Mike's only 165 pounds. So like that's relatively high calories for that body weight. And he's in his early 60s. So, you know, he's made these progress, you know, in at the age of 60 by focusing on eating a well-balanced diet. So for everyone who's thinking, oh, I got to go carnivore, I got to cut my carbs, no, cutting carbs is going to cause you to lose muscle. Like 2021, that was the result of carnivore and intermittent fasting. Like you lose fat, but you also lose muscle. The later pictures, that's the result of a well-balanced diet where we're actually get the shit together and focus on nourishing the body and training and building muscle while burning body fat, right? Achieving that body recomposition. So it's like, what do you want to do? Like if you don't care about muscle and you're just like, I just want to get as skinny as possible, yeah, starve yourself, go for it. But if you want to build muscle and lose fat, don't cut your carbs. Like, you need carbs. That's your high octane fuel source. Plus, it's a lot more enjoyable to have carbohydrates in your diet. You feel stronger, you feel more satiated, you think clearer, right? Like, your brain runs on glucose, right? So, I mean, you can function better when you have carbs in your diet. Anyway, where was I? I lost my spot there. Chris has got a question. How long should you rest between sets? It depends. It depends on the exercise you're doing. It depends on the intensity of that exercise, and also depends on what it is you're training for. All right. So I'll kind of put some context around it. If your goal is maximum strength, like a power lifter, you want to take long rest periods. You want to be well rested before each set. And sometimes when you look at power lifters, strongman competitors, they'll rest several minutes between sets, like 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes between sets, maybe in some cases even longer. But they are well rested. It's not just to catch their breath, but they want to let their body, regenerate its energy systems, to regenerate that ATP, the adenosine triphosphate energy system, which is the energy system used for high power explosive lifts. That takes a long time to regenerate so that you can exert that short burst of high intensity effort. If you're training more for muscular endurance and conditioning, then you probably want to take shorter rest periods and get into more of the lactic acid energy system. So, for example, if someone's training for a boxer or MMA fighter or something along those lines that is more conditioning related, where you want to have that muscular endurance, or CrossFit, that type of, or high rocks or Spartan races, these kind of events where you need to have that, like, not at peak power, but you need to have like sub-maximal power over a long duration of time. That's where you want to train the lactic acid energy system, and that's going to require shorter rest periods. So, for example, probably keep your rests to a minute or less between sets. And then the other energy system is the aerobic energy system, and that's something you get when you're doing cardiovascular exercise, where there is no rest between sets. It's just go, 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 like cycling or running or things like that, where it's just that nonstop. It's low output over a prolonged duration of time, right? So how long you rest between sets depends on your goal and what it is you're training for. Now, from a muscle hypertrophy point of view, because I know, like, a lot of people listening to this, you're probably not athletes, you're probably not power lifters or athletes or whatever. Like, I just want to lose my gut and get in shape and look good and not be a fat slob, right? If that's you, and how long you should rest between sets, the general rule of thumb for most workouts, a minute to 2 minutes between sets will probably be fine. For big exercises like squats and deadlifts, maybe you want to stretch it out to 3 minutes, especially on your top heavy sets. But for most gym exercises, 1 to 2 minutes probably would be in that ideal range for most people, right? And, from a practical point of view, for general gym workouts, you don't need to overthink it. But what I would recommend is, don't rush it. Like, just don't go from one move to the next with hardly any rest in between sets, because you're just going to get gassed and you're not going to achieve muscular fatigue. You're going to achieve cardiovascular fatigue. Like, you're going to be out of breath and not be able to perform enough, not because your muscles are fatigued or tired. It's just your cardiovascular system is given out. So you don't want to be like 30 seconds rest between sets, right? You want to give yourself 1 to 2 minutes. That will be long enough to catch your breath and then mentally prepare for the next set, right? That would be a good general guideline. And when I'm coaching my in-person students in the gym, that's what we shoot for, 1 to 2 minutes rest between most exercises, right? Now, again, if we're really going to push it with a heavy squat or a deadlift or heavy leg press or some big exercise that takes a lot of energy, a lot of focus, we'll probably stretch it out to 3 minutes between sets, but that would be the exception. All right, let's see what else we got there. What do you think of the Meadows row? I love that movement and have noticed back mass. Wonder if you've tried it. Yeah, I have tried it. I mean, it's not necessarily a staple in my own workouts. I do a lot of different row variations, but I just haven't done the, John Meadows row. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong here now, but I believe it's using like a landmine attachment and doing like a one arm row using a landmine, if it works and you enjoy it and you find that it gives you a good contraction, by all means go for it, right? I have done it in the past, but it's just personally it's not a staple in my own workouts. I do a lot of different row variations. Like at the gym that we have, or at the gym that I train at, we have like T-bar rows, we've got cable rows, chest supported rows, hammer strength row machines. Of course, then you got your barbell rows and your dumbbell rows, and like those are the typical rowing variations that I like to do the most, those ones. But if you like the Meadows row and it gives you a good contraction, go for it, right? The thing is, there's so many different variations, and what you have to look at is working the muscle and not necessarily getting hung up on the exercise. So if one row variation doesn't feel right for you and another one does, then do the ones that feel best for you, right? And that's the cool thing about training. Like, you don't have to do a certain exercise. You can do the ones that feel the best for you, give you the best mind muscle connection, the best pump. The only time you really have to do a specific exercise is if you're an athlete where that is the competition. Like, for example, like a weightlifter obviously has to do the snatch and the clean and jerk because that's the competition weight lifts. A power lifter has to do the squat, bench, and deadlift because those are the competition power lifts. Like, that's the only time you have to do an exercise, is if that is the competition side of things. But for general fitness, focus on working the muscle, not getting hung up on the exercise. So if that works for you, go for it, right? I mean, that applies for all movements. Like, prime example, like if barbell bench presses don't feel right, like it hurts your shoulders or your joints or something, or you just don't feel right, but maybe a dumbbell press does, hey, use the dumbbell press, right? You don't have to barbell bench press if it doesn't feel right. Yeah, I mean, that's the cool thing about this. We have a lot of variety at our fingertips, especially in most gyms nowadays. We got more exercise variety than ever before, which can be good or bad, because sometimes it creates information and just decision fatigue, information overload and decision fatigue. Because you look at a new person going into the gym and they're like, holy crap, like, what do I do? Right? And that's where it can help to have an experienced coach to kind of guide you through the waters, especially early on in the journey. But like, I know a lot of people, we were actually having this conversation today. I was doing some one-on-one training at the gym to some guys that are training there, and they were just talking about how having a coach and a one-on-one trainer had made such a difference in their journey versus going in there and just trying to figure it out on their own. Like, having someone to guide you through step by step can really shortcut that learning process, eliminate a lot of that trial and error, and of course, a lot of the injuries and mistakes that can be made along the way. Like, learn from someone else's mistakes is the fastest way to learn and the safest way to learn. Who else we got joining in? We got Jeffrey joining in. Welcome to the chat, Jeffrey. Glad to have you part of our conversation here this afternoon. We've got Emma joining in. I've been away for a while, but good to join your live again. What have you been working on as a fitness goal over the last few weeks? I mentioned it earlier. I'm actually getting ready to do another cycling race this Sunday. So that is my main priority recently. And over the last several years, that's something that I do. Like, in the summertime, I compete in our local cycling races. So I've done several races so far this year. I've done some time trial races. I did one road race back in June, early June it was, because this is still June. I believe it was June 1st. I did a road race on June 1st, and now this coming Sunday, I got another road race coming up. So that's my main fitness goal, and something I really enjoy. I like the challenge of it. I like the camaraderie and a good group of people in the cycling racing community. One thing that I've been doing too is helping out with our Canada Games athletes, because this year, St. John's, Newfoundland is going to be hosting the Canada Games, and I've been helping out with the Canada Games cycling team. And how I've been helping out is just doing some of their training rides, just jumping in to help out with the group and participating in some of their practice races, like time trial races, practice road races. We did practice crit race as well. So that's been a lot of fun, and hanging out with the younger athletes, because I think the Canada Games, it's all under 21. So it makes me feel, youthful to be able to hold my own against some of the young ones. But it's been a lot of fun helping out, and of course they really appreciate it as well. Who else we got to join in? What else? Thanks, Lee. Do you have a link to the Lose Your Gut Challenge? I do live outside the US, so I'm not sure if that affects things. No, great question. Yes, there's a link. Just go to leehayward.com. There's the top post there on leehayward.com. You'll see there's free 5-day Lose Your Gut Challenge Summer Shred. Click on that. It outlines the details. And also there's a link right in the description below this video. So pop open the description, scroll down. There's a link there that takes you directly to my website where you can get all the information about the Lose Your Gut Challenge and actually register for it. And as far as location, it doesn't matter. If you have internet access, you're able to join, regardless where you live in the world. I mean, if you're able to join this video chat right now, you're able to join the Lose Your Gut Challenge, right? This is not a US thing or a Canadian thing, or it's a worldwide thing. As long as you have internet access, you can participate. What else we got? We got Jeff joining in. Welcome, Jeff. Glad to have you participating in the chat. Have to get you on the live chat someday. If you're joining in from the viewer end, hopefully you might be able to join in from the chatterbox end as well. But he's asking, do you have any tips for dealing with sciatica? I've never really had to deal with that myself. So I mean, there's a lot there to unpack. One thing that I would look into, if I was going through something like that now, I would definitely check out with a good physiotherapist, like ideally someone who's used to working with athletes. That's what I would do. I would go check that out and just see if, get a good assessment done to see what you've got done. And when it comes to different pains like that, there could be a lot of root causes to it. And when you're dealing with nerve issues, sometimes the root cause may not be at the site of the pain. It could be somewhere else up the chain, if you will. Like a lot of times, like even if you get impinged nerves in your neck or your back or anywhere along there, that could go down and affect the limbs and the extremities. Right? I've shared this a while back. Like I remember this was a few years back now. All out of the blue, I just started getting this unexplained finger pain. Like it just came out all of a sudden, and my index finger was just painful and numb. And like if I put any pressure on it or touched anything, I was just getting this sharp shooting, like just feeling that raw nerve pain in my index finger. And it was so weird. I was like, what the heck have I got done? And I figured, oh, okay, I'll just, give it a day or two and it'll ease up on its own. And it didn't. And it just kept lingering on and on and on and on. And finally, I went to my family doctor, and I was almost embarrassed. It's like this is weird. I got a doctor's appointment, but say my finger is hurting. And I explained the situation to him. And lo and behold, the root cause was an impinged nerve in my neck. So, I got some rehab exercises to help to stretch out the neck and to loosen up, the tightness and stiffness. And I also changed my desk position because, I do a lot of work on the computer, and I was falling guilty into the poor posture syndrome, which a lot of people do. You get hunched over the computer and your neck is leaned forward. So that was probably causing some impingement on the nerves as well. But lo and behold, I was doing some neck exercises to relieve the stress on my neck. And within a couple weeks of doing that, the pain in my finger just eliminated. It was crazy. It was almost like flicking a light switch on and off. The pain came on instantly. And once I released that impinged nerve in the neck, the pain went off instantly. So the reason I'm sharing that, I know that's not directly related to sciatica pain there, but it might be something up the chain. It might not necessarily be the pain where you're feeling the pain. Sometimes it could be upriver, so to speak. And if you deal with the root cause, that'll fix the lingering issues. But what I would recommend, get it checked out by a doctor or physiotherapist or someone who can really do a good assessment and kind of see, check you out in person to see what it is, what issues you're having. And there's other things they can do too. Like sometimes they can do, in addition to like massage and exercises and mobility work and things, they might be able to do like some ultrasound, help loosen up areas. Like I remember having that done on some of my injuries in the past as well. Like when I've torn muscles, they do ultrasound to help break up scar tissue, right? In certain areas. So there's all kinds of tactics that can be used for people who are familiar with this. But again, I'm just sharing some general guidelines here because I personally have not dealt with sciatica, so I'm not the best person to address the specifics on that one. But I just want to share what I would do if I was in your situation right now. All right. Can you please treat us to one of your awesome front double bicep flexes? Ta-da! I gotta move the comment there. There we go. Front double bicep pose. Thank you. You're too kind. My awesome front double bicep. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there with more awesome biceps than me, but thank you kindly for thinking that my front double bicep is awesome. We got Andy joining in, and Andy's a regular over on our Muscle After 40 program who's made quite the transformation. I know he shared today in our Friday check-in over on our VIP group that he's down to 213 pounds from a high of 300 when he started his fat loss journey. So again, he's incredible progress. So glad to have you joining in, Andy. Says Lee, I'm feeling stronger this week. I got a huge compliment yesterday from a lady I haven't seen in a year. Thanks for all your help. Well, that is cool. The ladies are taking notice, right? Good for you, man. I mean, it's nice to get compliments from the outside of other people noticing. It really helps to reinforce that you're on the right track. And when it comes, I just want to talk about that in general because a lot of times people start their fitness journey and they want that outside validation. Like they want people to cheer them on and give them the compliments. And that's something you got to earn. And it's like a bonus when it happens, but don't go out there expecting it to happen. Like don't expect that because you started working out, ladies are going to flock to you and everyone's going to shower you with compliments, right? If you do get a compliment from a lady, right, take that as a bonus, but don't go out there seeking it, right? If it happens, it happens, right? But it does feel good when you get that reinforcement for sure. I got John joining in. Says I've been doing one on, one off. Find that it works better for me instead of doing 4 to 5 days straight. Yeah, I totally agree with that. And this was something that we actually discussed in detail during the most recent episode of the Total Fitness Bodybuilding podcast. I did an episode with Tom Moland. He's a fitness coach who helps guys over 40 as well. So we have a lot in common. And we did a podcast together. But that was one of the things we discussed was training strategies. And that took me a long time to figure that out. The whole one day on, one day off, or at least giving yourself adequate time to rest, recover, and grow between workouts. And that is truly a form of training smarter, not harder. Because I found in my own training, like in my early days, I was training virtually every day. I mean, I probably would take a day off if you got busy or just couldn't make it to the gym. But like I was basically training 6-7 days a week, right, in my early days. And it worked when you got youth on your side. As I started to get older, I found that, training's getting heavier, breaking down the body faster than it can recover. And even though I was in the gym every day, I wasn't seeing the progress that I thought I should be getting for the amount of work I was putting in. And after talking to some more experienced bodybuilders, they said, sounds like you're overtraining, like you're just burning yourself out. So recommended that I scale it back to every other day. And as soon as I did that, I instantly started to grow. So like train one day, take the next day off, train one day, take the next day off. And then you're giving your body a full 48 hours of rest and recovery between each workout. And I felt like I was able to go into the gym feeling rested and strong and energized versus going in there and dragging my heels, and having to rely on willpower and caffeine to get through the workout, right? Like I was actually felt strong and energized, and it made such a difference. And I can remember making the best gains ever when I switched every other day versus trying to hammer it out every single day. So again, it's truly training smarter, not harder. Let's see what else we got there. David's saying, this guy is knowledgeable. I've learned many things from Lee's program. I changed my body significantly. Hope you're well. Appreciate you for sharing that, David. Thank you so much. He said, that's really cool you shared. Yeah, I shared David's picture earlier. I mean, he made an incredible transformation, and it's shocking when you look at that before and after, right? And that's something I always, for anybody going through your fitness journey, whether you're just starting off or whether you're already on your journey, take progress pictures, right? Even if you just take them for yourself, like heck, nowadays it's so easy to take progress pictures. I mean, it can be a freaking cell phone selfie or whatever. Like, you don't need to do anything grand, but just take some progress pictures. And when you're taking pictures, try and use that as reinforcement, visual reinforcement to see the progress. Because when you're on your fitness journey, the changes happen so gradually that it's hard to appreciate it day to day. Like, you're seeing yourself in the mirror every single day, and it's like, oh, nothing's happening. But if you can go back and look and say, like, oh, this is where I was 3 months ago or 6 months ago or a year ago, and then you see that transition, that transformation, it really helps to reinforce the work you've put in and that you're on the right track. And to kind of give you an example of this, any of you who are parents and you got young children, look how fast your kids are growing. Like, you see your kids every day, so sometimes you don't really appreciate how much they're changing. But then when you look at old photos, you're like, whoa, this is crazy, right? You see the transformation or the changes. A prime example, like, I mean, school's out for summer now. And when they gave out the report card, one of the things that the teacher did is, on the first day of school, she took a picture of all the students, and they had him hold up a sign. Like, for Harvey, he just did grade 3. So next year is going to be grade 4. But on first day, he held up a sign there just saying first day of grade 3. And, back in September of last year versus now, like, I'm looking at it like, man, like, look how much you've grown. Like, you can just see the changes from them. It's crazy. But when you see them every single day, like, you don't appreciate those changes. But when you can compare the pictures, it's like, whoa, this is shocking, the change. So again, I encourage every one of you, as you're going through your fitness journey, take progress pictures of yourself, right? I mean, you don't have to be posting on social media or whatever. Like, I know some people see pictures and think that, oh, I got to be a fitness influencer now and share it all. Like, no, I mean, if you want to, go for it. I mean, I'm not saying you're not allowed, but if you're not a picture sharing type, just keep it for yourself so you can get that satisfaction and see the transformation taking place for your own self. And it helps to reinforce the progress, because one of the biggest reasons why people quit is because they're succeeding so slowly. I mean, like, you're making progress so slowly that you don't appreciate it. You don't appreciate the changes. And then when it feels like you're not making progress, you're like, oh, what's the point of doing this? I quit. The changes aren't happening fast enough. But when you can look at how far you've came and appreciate it, then you can really, like, it solidifies it and just like, okay, this is actually changing. This is actually working. Right? But it's a slow process in the moment, day to day. But when you can compare, year to year, the changes are huge. All right, where else were we? I lost my spot there. Any tips to deal with shoulder pain during back squats? Yeah. One tip in particular, if you have access to it, a safety squat bar. And that's exactly what that bar was invented for, was to help alleviate shoulder pain when doing squats. And if you're not familiar with the safety squat bar, I'm just going to share it. Safety squat bar. Just give me a second. Now I'm going to share my screen so you can see what it is I'm referring to. Safety squat bar. Just Google search it, right? I mean, that's exactly what I'm doing right now. I'm Google searching safety squat bar. So this is what you can do to help alleviate pain. Here it is. I'll just pop that open. I don't know if there's any pictures of someone actually using it, just to kind of put it in perspective. But it's a bar where you don't need to have your arms out wide, because when you're holding a regular barbell across your back, that places a lot of stress on the shoulder joint. The shoulders are in a static contraction, but it does place a lot of stress. So right here, okay, this is a good picture. Let's see if I can just pop that one open. There's an example of them. There's different freaking pop-ups. Jesus, it drives me nuts. Right there. Hopefully you can see that. Actually, a second now, guys. I want to I'll reshare my screen. I opened up a new tab and it's not sharing the screen that I wanted it to share. Just give me a moment there. Share screen, safety squat bar. There. That's a good view of it, I believe. So hopefully that's coming through. But you see how the arms are in a neutral position in the front of the body. You're not out wide, like that wide position there, which places a lot of stress on the shoulder joints. You're in that neutral position with your hands literally out front, and it takes that stress off the shoulder. So if your gym has a safety squat bar, definitely try it. I mean, it's very similar, but it does change the weight. The position of the safety squat bar literally kind of throws the weight more forward. So it almost feels more like a front squat versus a back squat, but it's still a squat variation that will allow you to squat without a lot of shoulder pain. Right? But that's one that you can try. And there's different variations of the safety squat bar. One that's a really good one that was actually recommended to me by a colleague of mine, Nick Nielsen. We also did a podcast with Nick a while back. We were talking about this during our podcast. It's called the Mars bar. And it's a safety squat bar, but the pads that go over your shoulder are rounded, and that actually makes it a lot more comfortable, and it allows it to balance on your back better. So just give me a second. I'm just going to search for that one. If you're going to buy one or order one, I would recommend the Mars bar versus the standard safety squat bar. So I'm just going to share my screen to demonstrate that one. I've never personally used the Mars bar before because at our gym, we only have the standard safety squat bar. But based on my conversations with Nick, he has both, and he recommends this one to be far superior, the Mars bar. So you can see the angle of it there. All right, let me just share the new pop-up window that popped up there. Mars bar. Yeah, right here it is. You can just give you a bigger view of it. It is a bit more pricey, that one. I mean, obviously you could shop around and see if you can find different variations and find something within your budget. The standard safety squat bar would be more affordable. Like I literally seen them when I was just doing the search for like less than $200. This Mars bar is actually on the pricey side there, like $650 for this one. But it is a lot more comfortable and it balances the weight better on your back. But either one of them would be a better variation to allow you to squat without that shoulder pain. Now, with that being said, if you don't have access to these bars and it's not in the budget to order one and get one, just do other squat variations like a pendulum squat or a leg press or some other squat variation that doesn't place discomfort. As I mentioned earlier, you want to focus on working the muscle, not getting hung up on the exercise. So if any exercise causes pain or discomfort, so like if say squats cause pain or discomfort, you don't have to squat. Unless you're a competitive powerlifter, like you don't have to squat. You could do leg presses. You could do pendulum squats. You could do hack squats, right? Front squats, whatever, goblet squats, body weight squats, right? You can do other variations to work the muscle that are more comfortable for you, right? So take that into consideration and just use what you have available. But if you are looking for a true squat alternative, safety squat bar or Mars bar would definitely help with that. We're going to get ready to include this up shortly because we're already over the hour mark, but let's see. I just want to answer a couple more before we clue it up. We got Neil joining in. What are your thoughts about deload and why is it really not that stimulating? I mean, I use the same amount of sets, but half the load and reps. I can sometimes even yawn. Is this a form of somewhat recovery, making it less intense? Thank you. All right, deload. The idea behind deloading is when you're pushing the limits with your workouts and you're borderline overtraining, instead of stopping training, you just scale back the volume, scale back the intensity. So it's active recovery. You're still working out, you're still keeping your fitness level going, still reaping the benefits of fitness, the health and the metabolic benefits and the mental benefits, but you're not stressing the body. It's active recovery. And this is actually better than just stopping training, because the way a lot of people are, they're like a light switch. They're either on or off, right? There's no in between. So we want to learn how to dial it up or dial it back as needed. And deloading is just a way of dialing it back. So it's actually more beneficial than just stopping training entirely when you're borderline overtraining. Now, when it comes to deloading, this is a strategy used by advanced lifters, advanced athletes, and the average person doesn't really need to deload as much. And I'm going to give some context there. Like, I work with regular guys, like within the Muscle After 40 program. I'm regularly coaching average working professionals, family men, real folks. I'm not working with professional high-level athletes and people who are pushing themselves to the point of overtraining. Most of the guys that I work with, they're the opposite. Like, they're not nowhere near overtraining because they're not consistent enough to overtrain. Like, they're the ones, like, I got to give them a kick in the arse and say, get in the freaking gym, not having to hold them back and say, hey, you got to deload because you're doing too much in the gym. It's usually the other way around, right? Like, we're trying to force them to do more, not to do less. All right. So from the average person point of view, if you're, be honest with yourself, if you're more on the lazy, not doing enough, then the whole idea of deload is there's no even point having this conversation, right? It's like talking to someone who lives, in the Arctic and saying, hey, make sure you don't get out and get too much sun exposure. You don't want to get a sunburn when it's, minus 40 below zero, and and you're covered up in a snowsuit. Like, no, it ain't going to happen. You're not going to get a sunburn, right? So if you're in that category, you're not in the gym enough to overtrain, deload is not even an issue. But if you are, like, you are pushing yourself, you are consistent, you're hitting the gym, 4+ days a week consistently, and you're burning the candle at both ends, and you're feeling it starting to add up. Like, maybe you're just overtrained, you're fatigued, you're getting aches and pains in the joints, tendons, and ligaments, and like, I need a break, I need to dial things back. That's when the deload can actually play a role. And in the form of, or when it comes to high-level athletes, they will strategically use deloads in their training, like especially before competition. They'll build up to a peak and then they'll taper off before the competition, so they allow their body to rest and recover so that they can go into the competition and perform their best, right? Like, that's the general rule of thumb. Like, you build up to a peak, taper a little bit, just allow everything to rest up and recover, and then go into the competition strong. So you'll see strategic uses of deloading that way. They don't want to necessarily stop training entirely, but you just want to scale it back so that you're not stressing your central nervous system, not stressing the body. Like, still work on the technique and the skills that are needed, but do so without breaking the body down, right? That's the whole idea of a deload. It's active recovery. Think of it that way. It's just another word, right? But there is a time and a place for it. But honestly, for most people, most average guys, they don't need a deload, right? They need a reload, right? They need to get their ass in the gym and actually put some stimulation on the muscles. One more. Let's see what else. What's your ideal weight? 170 is main gain for me, and 150 is very fit. For me personally, my ideal weight is probably around 190 pounds. That's where I feel my best. It's like the sweet spot of where I'm lean but not depleted, right? If I go less than 190, I'm getting into the depleted phase. If I'm pushing 200 or more, then I'm getting into the fluffy phase, right? So for me at this stage of the game, around 190 is kind of like my ideal weight, but that's going to vary for everybody. Like, your height, your amount of muscle mass, what you're training for, your structure. Like, I mean, I'm assuming you're just asking out of curiosity, but like that's not necessarily a guideline. Like I'm not saying like, hey, everybody listening to this, you have to be 190 pounds. No, you may need to be less, you may need to be more, depending on your structure, your goals, etc. Right? It's a very individual thing, right? It's almost like saying, hey, what's your ideal income, or what's your ideal whatever, right? I mean, it depends on your situation. Let's see. Jonas says, warming up is important, but do a person who lives in a warm climate need to warm up less than those who live in a colder climate? There is a little bit of truth to that, and I'll give you some context. When you are physically warm, like for prime example, in the summertime, it's hot, your body is warm and everything else, you're probably already sweating before you even hit the gym floor, then you don't need to physically warm up the body, as in elevate your core temperature, but you still need to warm up for the exercises, like get the blood flow and the circulation, limber up the joints, tendons, and ligaments, go through the movement with light weight to just reinforce that movement pattern, and still do your progressively heavier warm-ups. I mean, you still need that, but you don't need to elevate your core temperature as much, or you probably don't need to elevate it at all because it's probably already elevated. Whereas if it's the middle of winter, it's freezing cold outside, and you come into the gym and you're physically cold, the gym is cold, then you want to actually warm up. And what I recommend for a lot of my coaching students, and what I very often do myself, is I'll start off with 5 to 10 minutes of cardio just to get a light sweat going and to elevate the core temperature before I hit the gym floor and actually start my warm-up routine and my workout and everything else. So the cardio is a physical warm-up, like literally elevate the core temperature and get the body moving. But if it's a warm, like middle of summer, you guys, if you're living down south somewhere and it's hot and everything else, you don't need to do that. Your core temperature is already warm. So I'm not saying don't warm up, but you don't need to emphasize it as much, if that makes sense. Right? Still do the progressively heavier warm-up sets, pyramid your weight up and all that, but you don't need to prolong the physical warm-up side of things because you're already warm, if that makes sense. All right, we got David joining in. Welcome, David. Hello to you, my friend. See what else we got there. I think that's it. I know there's a couple more comments coming through, but I think that's the bulk of our questions there. And I'm going to get ready to clue it up because I know we have gone well over the hour, which all the regulars who tune in know this. Every week I say, hey, I'm going to be hanging out here for the next hour. And it ends up being an hour and 15, or today it's an hour and 23 minutes, right? So we're an hour and 23 minutes into our 60-minute video chat. But anyway, guys, hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you got some value from today's conversation. I certainly enjoyed doing it. And I just want to remind you, if you would like to join us with the Lose Your Gut Challenge, it's going down next weekend. So July 5th, right? For those of you in the United States, it's the day after, the July 4th holiday. So you get to enjoy your holiday, and then you can start off on the right track, July 5th with the 5-day Lose Your Gut Challenge. And again, this is a free challenge. It's free 5-day virtual coaching program where we're going to lay out a step-by-step action plan to help you optimize your nutrition, optimize your training, and get you set up on the right track to losing your gut and keeping it off. So again, if you want all the details about it, pop open the description below this video. There's a link there where you can head over to my website at leehayward.com, read all the details about the Lose Your Gut Challenge. It explains what it is, how it works, yada, yada, yada. And there's also a link there where you can register for it. If you want to get some feedback, like maybe you're skeptical and you say like, oh, I don't know, this free challenge sounds too good to be true. What's it all about? Head over to the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook page. There's literally over 200 reviews left by past Lose Your Gut Challenge participants explaining their feedback and their experience going through it. So, I mean, you can check that out as well if you want to get some social proof before you step on board. Because I know it might be a big, right? Dedicating yourself to 5 days to a Lose Your Gut Challenge might be a big step, right? Outside your comfort zone. I get it. So if you want to kind of get some feedback from others, check that out. And again, hopefully you'll join us, and hopefully you'll become one of our next Lose Your Gut Challenge success stories. That's what this is all about. But in the meantime, I'm going to get ready to clue it up, and I'll talk to you next Friday, same time, same place. Have yourself a great weekend. Enjoy. Over and out.